Um, Hi everyone. I was getting very bored. I saw there was not going to be surface noise this week, apparently, or I didn't got an email, or they didn't send me an email. But just want to see if anybody shows up um, and talk some random stuff. I'm gonna be out of here like in 30 minutes, an hour, who knows? But I'll wait for a little bit. I know nobody's watching right now. I don't know if I'm talking my ass off, and I'm not even gonna post this video. I'm gonna delete it right after after a little while. But hopefully, some people come around. Um, since again, there's no surface noise. Be that. I should have changed the title of the thing. Maybe I will. I don't know if anybody's here. Me and my cat are listening. Oh, all right, that's fine. Just want to show some records that I got recently. I befriended a very interesting guy. I've talked in the past about how I get records. I'm not in the U.S., so it becomes a little trickier to get this sort of records that I like. In Europe, it's I would say it's level one. Like most of what you want, it's there. For experimental music, most of it makes its way over there. In the US, I would say it's like a level two because there's a lot of like European stuff that I think are fantastic. It's a little harder to get because you have to import it, blah blah blah, and when you get it from a US dealer or whatever, it's normally like they know that if this was in the UK, it would be like $40, but plus 20 shipping. So he sells it for like 65, blah, blah, blah. But over here, I have an advantage because I live near the border. I have a P.O. box and I get my stuff sent over there. But most people, they don't have that privilege or whatever, or that possibility. I know in Mexico City, there's some stuff like that as well. But for the most part, it's very weird. But so one of the things that I do most of the times is Facebook Marketplace, which I think it's still very underrated in the sense that I know some people talk about it in the VC or here on YouTube, but I think it's a such an unexplored thing because the fact that you could be in I don't know Idaho and you can move your location to California and look for records there and just be like, hey, you want to sell this to me? Like, can you ship it? Yeah, PayPal, goods and services. You get protection. They get protection. If he doesn't ship the record that you wanted or whatever. I think that's fantastic. I think Facebook it's great, and I've been buying a lot from eBay as well. But anyways, so I befriended a guy on Facebook because he had a record that I'm looking for. I'm still currently looking for. Hey man, how you doing? I'll throw a link if anybody wants to come here again. So that Surface Noise got canceled. It's a podcast I do on Thursdays sometimes when I'm here. Um, but I've been a little busy, like band rehearsals and stuff like that. But today, of all days, that I was free to come back and do this, they got canceled or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyways, so I'll throw in the link if anybody wants to jump in. If you've never been, up, I encourage it even more. I might delete this afterwards, so don't worry. You can, you know, whatever. Anyways, so I befriended this guy that was he posted a record I'm still looking for that I'm supposed to be reissuing on my label, and it's a very scarce record from here from Mexico. It's a free jazz record from here, and which I have never seen it personally, like and I asked, "Hey, do you still have this?" And he said, "Yes, I still have it." And I was like, "Oh, great." He was like, I'll send you like a message on WhatsApp." So I gave him my phone, and then someone with another name sent me a message saying, "Hey, it's the guy from Facebook." I was like, "All right." It's like, "Why do you have a different name?" And he just very weirdly just said, um, "Oh, I have many names," which I thought was cheesy or whatever. But anyways, he he said that he didn't have that record anymore, but he had a lot of other records. And if I was looking for something specific, that I should ask him that. And apparently, a lot of stuff that I thought he was going to have, I just immediately asked, and he was like, "No, I already sold like most of those type of records." I was like, "All right, all right." But all of a sudden, he started telling me about these crazy stories about. So he grew up in a very rural part of Mexico. I wouldn't call it that anymore, but back when he was young, because he's probably like 65 or something like that, or a little more. It was a very rural part of Mexico. He didn't have any water or electricity in his house, but a friend of his used to get the bus and travel to Mexico City, which is, I don't know, like 18-20 hours away from there. Just insane, you know. What is it? Just ordered 23 records from Japan, and they got here in 2 days through DHL. Order at record 70 miles from my house, and it took 5 days through USPS. Well, if you bought it from like what is it, Record City Japan or whatever, those shits are very fast. I would say like DHL in Asia and in Germany, it's extremely fast. Yeah, I've gotten stuff like all the way from over there to here in like a day or two, which is insane. And then when I use that service here, piece of shit, the thing takes forever to arrive. But yeah, USPS, you know, it's become even slower than ever before. Anyways, so this guy used to get on a bus, go to Mexico City, and what he would do, which I don't know if it was like a normal thing to do. Again, I'm 30. I don't know if that was a thing back then, but he would get the yellow pages and he would look up the name of artists that they knew. So they would go to like a record store, for example, and they would write down the names and didn't buy anything there because they wanted it cheaper and they wanted to get it from the source. So what they would do is write down the name, and in the back of records you have like a number or something like that. They would write it down and they would phone them and be like, "Hey, I'm in Mexico City for the next week or so. Can I buy some records directly from you?" And they were like, yeah, or yeah, of course." Which I thought was particularly weird, but all of a sudden he starts telling me all these crazy stories of stuff he saw, places he went, bands he saw live, artists he met, and some of those artists are artists that I'm working with on my label to reissue. And I even asked them about him, and like they 100% knew who I was talking about, and that he was very kind, that they remember him, they remember like buying records from him, which particularly are a little weird, but whatever. But he was so fucking old school, and he runs like punk DIY label where he's from, and he just very specific type of guy. But so apparently there was a guy in the UK that he would send these magazines with artists from Mexico that he would write in Europe and in the UK, and wherever, and that he would import so that he could sell it over there, and he would do the same thing, like send records from over there and from the US as well to Mexico to see if anybody wanted them. So most of these records that I'm going to show are like records that I never thought that I was going to own. I never thought that I was going to see them here. I mean, like randomly from a guy. And he apparently has way more stuff than that. But yeah, you know. Let me show you the first one that I got because I put it here. All right. So this is. I think I've showed this before, but so I'm working on reissuing this record, and this is the first thing that I got my attention, which has nothing to do with the other stuff that I got later on. But this is a flute record. It's called Voces de la Flauta, Voices of the Flute. You know, which is a experimental flute record from here from Mexico. It's an extended technique flute record, and this is a very scarce record. Like you can't find it anywhere. And then it used to be like a $40 or $50 record, and all of a sudden some assholes decided that they wanted to put like almost like $200 range prices on them. And so I got this. This is my third copy now that I've got. Because again, I'm reissuing this. I have cassette copies. I put it up on YouTube. You can listen to it. But the vinyl record itself, it's the VC, and I guess people are gonna want the vinyl version. But this one doesn't sound as good. There was like a recycle vinyl thing going on here in Mexico, where not the big labels, not EMI, Warner, Sony, BMG, anyone else would get like this shitty recycle vinyl. So it's a little crackly or whatever. But the mastering they did for this record on the vinyl edition, it's very thin. It's not good sounding. The cassette actually sounds amazing, which is the master of that cassette was done directly from the analog master onto a Type 4 cassette, and and then he would either use a reel to reel to duplicate all the cassettes, or create that Type 4 cassette to do the run, which is pretty amazing. But this is a great record, and he had it for very cheap. He had it like for like, I think I paid like $15 for this. So I was immediately like, oh shit, what else does he have? So and I think it's pretty clean. I think this is the cleanest copy I've ever seen of this record. It does have like a sim split or something like that on the top, which is whatever. But this is a weird looking record, and in the inside, kids, it has this like stuff here. Hey, Malaya, how you doing? Just rambling because there's no surface noise tonight, or I don't know what the fuck happened with that. Jason said, "Why didn't I read my emails?" But I didn't got one, so I don't know what happened. Maybe there is surface noise going on. I was not invited. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, so I got this record, which I'm extremely happy about. But so I started asking him, like, "Hey, what else do you have?" And he started sending me stuff that I think that he thought that I was going to be like way more interested in, and I was like, "Nah, that's fine." And then as soon as I said that, he was like, "Well, I have some like rock in opposition records that I used to get," and then that's the whole story that I just told everyone here before, that he used to go to Mexico City and get these magazines that were like write it down, email that, like mail them what you wanted, get back, send them money, or wire, and like, well, I don't know how they would pay actually, and he would get the records like maybe a month later on. So they would order like the whole catalog. They were just like, just dumping every record they could get, because they didn't know what they would like, and if worst case scenario they didn't like it, they could sell it to someone else. So it's not really rock in opposition, but that's how it started here in Mexico. There was a lot of people that were really, really invested in the rock and opposition um, movement, but and suddenly it evolved from that to like experimental music, and something just clicked with people. So let me show some records that I got. I think, well, after that one, I got this, which is Silvestre Revuelta, was the one of the more popular and famous Mexican composers. This was a series called Voz Viva from la Universidad Autónoma de México, UNAM, the national. How do you open this shit? The national university from Mexico. But it only takes once for somebody to pay. Yeah, I know that, and I actually, that's funny you say that. So I, during like the last 3 months, I became friends with another guy. He has money, so he wanted me to send him a list of like stuff to look for, and at least three titles that I know of, I told him like, hey, like if you wait, this record will definitely like show up at a better price. Don't buy the one on Discogs. And like after like 5 days, he was like, fuck it, I can't find it anywhere. I'm gonna do it. So he would buy the most expensive copy on Discogs, and now it's like a $200 record. And now people are asking like $500. The fuck. I'll show that record later on. But anyways, so this is a great series. It was mostly about poets that were still alive, or writers that were still alive, and they wanted to preserve their voice and how they would express themselves and how they read their own work, and just phonetically listen to how they would tell the story. But they would also do it with composers. So Silvestre Revuelta, which has a piece called Sense Maya, which is really beautiful. But this is like his chamber music. Yeah, cuarteto de cuerdas. What do you call it? Four motherfuckers playing. Um, and it comes with a very nice. Well, this is the original sleeve that I don't know why I'm keeping. It's one of those like glossy ones, which is not good. So it comes with like a big, plentiful like text about him, and like some photos, which you're like, oh, whatever. But it's like, it wasn't common, at least here, to have this sort of like interest in new music. So, and this was made by Cuarteto Cuerda Latinoamericano, which is sort of like, I don't know how, like the Kronos Quartet, version of here, which they would only do contemporary artists. But yeah, so they would have this sort of thing, and they would do it with a bunch of artists. In Cuba, they used to have a series sort of like this, but just about poets, in Casa de las Américas, which I have some, which I think it's very important because from a musicology perspective, there are certain things that I think people in the U.S. or in Europe or Australia or Asia take for granted, which is like preservation, because you have, you might not like Robert Johnson music, like Lead Belly, but there were always places sort of like folkways that was trying to preserve um, heritage, indigenous people's music, blues, folk, just whatever around the nation with really I don't know what the budget was, but it seems that it was at least something significant that they could do it a lot. And this is something that I really I'm always been interested in because, for example, here in Mexico, even the most famous people that have ever lived from Mexico, there's no fucking recording of their voice. Like Frida Kahlo, there's no recording of her voice. If you go to YouTube, there's some asshole that says like the only recording of Frida Kahlo, but it's not even her. It's like an actress that was reciting like a letter that Frida wrote because it's like a pristine audio. It's like 100% fault. I don't know, but can you imagine that? It's like everyone around Frida Kahlo like got interviewed at least once. Like there's footage of like Diego Rivera talking. Like Trotsky, fucking, just whoever, right? But there's no recollection of her voice, which I think it's a pretty interesting story on its own. Wait, on my label, I've been shipping some records, and wait, and everybody's like, "Where's my record? Where's my record?" I'm like, "It's only me, and I have to ship like 400 records, like two or three different titles. Just please wait." Sorry, empezó a enviar algunos. Um, Somebody wrote something. Hey, Jose, how are you? Hey, Sean. Well, just there was no show, so anyone who wants to join in, you can join in. I'm just talking records that I got. But anyways, let's see what else that I got. So all of a sudden, this guy starts telling me like, "Oh, if you like that sort of thing, like I got some stuff from other places," and he had this Pierre Henry record, which I think it's a great record. But look at this fucking cover, beautiful. Look at it. It's like I don't know what the fuck it says. Scenes, escenas musicales inspiradas. Oh, I can read it in Spanish and understand better. Sorry, but musical scenes inspired by Diu de Victor Hugo. Which I think it's a very important record. This is a beautiful record. I think you can get this for like $30, but you can't fucking get this if you live here. That's my whole point. And everybody should if you haven't. He has a vast amount of records, but I think this one was particularly interesting to me. I don't know the fuck it says in the. I wish I knew any French because it has like this gatefold with all this information. Look at all these information. I don't know what the fuck it says. Yeah, yeah. Gracias, gracias. Thanks. I sort of said that. Yeah, Deus and Deu in Portuguese, Dios in Spanish, God, Diu. All right, Diu. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, Victor Hugo. But very, very beautiful record. Not a hard to get one, but again, I just never seen it here. So I asked him like, "Hey, what else do you have like that?" I'm not gonna show every record that I bought from him because you got some gems, right? But so he was like, "Well, if you like that," he sent me this one for free because it was not in the best conditions. He used to put this like numbers of like the records in his collection. This is 932. Thorwing Gristle. I have this is a second pressing, UK second pressing, which of the second annual report, which is fine. I didn't own this. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I know that the work is. I know they're not calling him God. Uh, but yeah, this was nice to get. He sent me a bunch of stuff for free as well, which I appreciated. Came with this sheet that I think it's just the actual inner they used to come with. It says London. Here's a fetish I want to know if you've ever heard of. I'm Industrial Records, which I thought was very nice. Music from the Death Factory, a bunch of stuff. This is not a expensive record. I think he just sent it as a free record because it has one side. It has some scratches on the record, so like throughout the record you can sort of listen to it. It's very mild, but and so I've bought it like three times from him now, and he sends me like this is a Mexican band called Real de Catorce, which is a psychedelic town here, and he just sent me like stuff like this, which is like somebody would pay a lot of money for this small poster, uh, which was nice. But he just likes to send me like random shit. Yeah, nice. Um, Let me see what else. Oh, so he sent me this one as well. He was like, "I'll send you something that I think you've heard before," which I had. I absolutely have no idea how do you pronounce this band's name. No idea whatsoever. Zero. I have no idea how you pronounce this band. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a name of a town. That's the name of the band. Borbetomagus. I'm gonna call it that. This is a live record. This is a noise jazz record. In, from the moment you drop the needle, this thing is like screaming back at you immensely. This is brutal, almost harsh noise music from '82, which is great year. Great year. You know, Masami Akita started releasing his first stuff in '82. Swans released its first EP in '82. Sonic Youth released their first EP in '82. So great fucking year. Actually, Thorsten Moore has a record with Jim Souter, who plays the reeds, plays the saxophone here. But I thought it was pretty nice. I don't know if this came with the original record, but it has like a clipping, which I guess it is. It looks too like clean cut, but I thought it was pretty nice, and it came with a beautiful insert. So I told him like, hey, you know what? This is like right up my alley. This has never been reissued, so that was also nice. It was easy, like, oh, that's my pressing when you log it in. I found a great MC5 White Stripes poster the other day. Huge poster and looks pristine. Maybe I'll get it framed. I've gotten some stuff framed here for the house, I want more stuff framed, which is a constant thing. Because for example, like those Swans reissues, they all have like beautiful posters. Anyways, so I told him like, hey, I thought that was incredible. What else do you have from them? And he sent me this one, which is their first record. So supposedly the name of this thing is like a old Germanic town or something like that means worms. So if you see they have worms and these like newspaper stuff. This is the second pressing of this one. I know that because for whatever reason they pressed it twice on the same on the same thing on the same year, but it's a second pressing made in the USA. I thought it was. I think this one is even a little bit better than the other one. This one has it's more electronic. The other one is a live record and it does have a lot of electronics, but this one is like I don't know. It has a very beautiful flow on it that you can see there. Brian Doherty, Jim Souter passed away like months ago. Donald Miller, I think he passed away as well not long ago. Um, the only bad thing about buying records from this guy is he used to put tape on some of his records. There used to be like cover on some stuff, which is shitty. But again, where am I going to get these records from? So, noise jazz at its finest, I would say. Very underrated band. I haven't seen a lot of people. Yeah, the cover it's pretty grotesque and beautiful. I haven't seen anybody mention it. I talked with Stunty. He knows who they are, and he was like, I think he was looking for this one or another one. I don't remember. So that derailed to him like understanding what I wanted, and he started sending me stuff in that vein. This one, it's good. It's fine. I wouldn't have paid more than what I did. It goes for a little bit of money, uh, but this is a French record. It's reversed, so I don't know what the fuck it used to say. I think it's something along the lines of haha, oh look, the text is reversed. No, for real. That's what I read online. But the band's called Neff. Uh, here's the here's the label. Which but this is like proggy. I would say it's proggy and experimental type music. But it was nice. I saw there's a reissue of this, so you can get it the reissue, or I might sell this. I don't know yet. But I thought it was pretty interesting. A little bit in the it sounds a little dated. It sounds a little dated, but in a cool way. It's the only record they released, so I thought that was nice. Def, the French Los Jaivas. I, I wouldn't. I don't know why we would say that. It doesn't really sound anything like Los Jaivas. They only released one record. Maybe there's another band called Def. I don't know. Um, but so yeah, so he got that, and then he sent me this with this record that I'm about to show. There's an experimental band from here from Mexico called Oxomaxoma, which if you buy from Vinyl on Demand, he has a box set that contains two records by them. And this is an invitation for a show they had in 1995 at Museo Universitario del Chopo in Mexico City, which I thought was beautiful to have this. It's like, I don't know, a little bit of thick cardboard thing. I think I'm going to frame this. I don't know how. Maybe I'm going to do like double glass thing so I can like swap it around, just like post it in the wall or whatever. But he sent me that on this record, which is a record that I've been looking for a while. I would, if you gave me a list of 1,000 records that I would have never, ever got here in Mexico, this would have been one. So this is the last record from a band called Mnemonist that was released under their new name, Biota, which is insanely beautiful. It's if you like Naked City, like if Naked City was, I wouldn't call it darker, but just elongated, painfully, beautifully long ass fucking drones and just instruments sound like they're a different type of instruments. It's just a mash of noise, but it's not harsh noise. It's just this stream, like just melted out notes. This is how that sounds. You can see on the back the name of the project now. It's called Biota. But no one is being around. They have some records I would recommend. You could go to like eBay and get some other stuff. But the actual cover, it's very interesting stuff. It has some. So this is, I don't know how to say this, but it's not a cover per se. It's just like a thing that holds. But let me show it. So this is like a triple thing, right? Very beautiful artwork. Look at that. What the fuck is that? And on the back, you got this very eerie, spooky thing. I would say that I've been playing this record a lot lately. A lot, a lot, a lot. This is one of the inserts as well. It has the credits. Again, like the first side has two tracks, or one. I don't really know, but again, very elongated stuff. Just the instrumentation itself, it's very interesting. Alto saxophone, guitar, organ, tapes, processing as a different instrument, small battery powered devices, tapes, clarinets, percussion, processing, and another guy recorders, processing, electric bass, tapes, BP devices. The fuck is that? But again, Nemonist. If you've never heard this band, you should. Don't fucking buy the copy that's for sale the cheapest on Discogs. Do not buy that, because I'm gonna probably see myself buying that if I get the next time I get drunk, which I don't even drink. So, but don't buy it just in case I want it, or buy it. You know, I'm not gonna find out. It's not gonna be like, you know. But I will say that this is a record you want like a VG plus near mint copy of, because the music you gotta get concentrated. It's very incredible sounding. You don't want any fucking clicks or pops on that bullshit. So I thought that was gonna be like the best thing he was gonna send to me. There's some stuff actually that haven't arrived yet. But then he showed this, and I was like I was like blown away. This is one of the hardest to get records in the noise genre. This is Symphony for Genocide. This is such a fucking incredibly drony, electronic, noisy as fuck. Mauricio Bianchi, who has like 1,000 records as well. But look at this artwork. That's the artwork from the cassette. I semi owned this cassette for a lot of years because one of my roommates used to have it. But so yeah, all the tracks are like genocidal things, and Mauricio's doing like self-release stuff right now, so you could buy like a new version of this record that he himself made on Discogs, and you can support him. But he has a lot of great records. This is an original. Never seen it in my life, like ever. I thought I was going to own this. I've been playing this a lot as well, which this one. So this is música popular brasileña contemporánea, which means popular Brazilian music, popular contemporary music from Brazil. There's a series Phillips put out. They all have this like incredible artwork, but this is just literally, popular music. I wouldn't call it. It's not pop music. It's popular music. Like as in folk music type. It's not. I wouldn't call this at all. Maybe somebody would. I wouldn't like Tropicalia, like experimental psyche, but this is a good record. The vinyl, it's mint. Like I think nobody ever like farted on that shit. I might get rid of this one just because if I don't, I'm gonna fucking be like trying to get the whole series, which I shouldn't. But I will call the cover VG Plus because it has like some. It's not a ring wear. I don't know. Maybe if I clean it, it would get off. It looks worse on the thing. But yeah, look at that artwork. It's very nice. Right? Música popular brasileira contemporânea. But it's nice because and I think in the U.S. you guys get like fed this lie that everybody's like trying to get like the same three artists from Brazil, so that's fine. All right, I got this, which I'm working on my label to reissue. This is Scott Fraser's uh, only record on vinyl. He has a lot of records on CD and on cassette. I'm also working on reissuing another of his release. It's called Water Album, the Water Album. It was only ever released on cassette, and we're reissuing it on cassette as well. But hey, Sean, wait.
Jose,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good.
I didn't want to bug you. I just thought I'd come up for a minute and say hi.
Yeah, of course. I'm just doing this randomly because I do that thing with Chance, and
Yeah, they're not on tonight, huh?
no, I think he went to see like I don't know what like a band or something. I don't know.
Cool.
But just showing some records I got. I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show, but I befriended this weird guy. Well, not weird in the good sense, but
Yeah.
Specific guy that grew up in a very rural part of here from Mexico, and he would get on a bus and for like 20 hours go to Mexico City, and he would go to record stores, write down those phone numbers you see in the back of records,
Yeah.
and like names of the artist, and look for them on the yellow pages, call them and be like, hey, like I'm around town, can I buy a record like directly from you?
Yeah.
And that was like a thing, I guess, back then. And he would get the records. And so I'm working with some. The reason I got to befriend this guy is because he had some records that I was looking for. So some are records that I'm reissuing, and the actual artists still remember him because after those conversations, he would actually get them like shows,
Yeah.
like and stuff like that in the northern part of
So
Mexico.
he developed a whole relationship with them.
Yeah. And he still like DIYs like punk shows and stuff like that here in Mexico. He has like a fan scene, and he has like a DIY cassette label and stuff like that. But so he would get these like magazines. I was talking with Stunty, and he told me the name of the publication. But one of the guys used to send like these magazines, like you get like the whole catalog of stuff that he was distributing,
Yeah.
and basically it was him and some friends that would be very much into like rock in opposition type music.
When you say rock in opposition, you mean like
It's like Henry Cow, Henry Cow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a genre of music in England that got very, very, very popular in Mexico. I wouldn't call it like extremely popular, but there was like a very, what do you call it, like very niche but strong amount of people that were very, very much into that genre.
Late 70s UK, like the rock and racism stuff, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's from the 70s. Yeah. So it was Universe Zero, Henry Cow, um, Universe Zero. They're from Belgium. Um,
No, I don't know them, but I know Henry Cow, and
well,
I got some of the idea.
Artsoid from France.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like the beginnings of those middle ends of the late of the genre. But in the 80s, it caught like a big wind in Mexican underground,
I
and a
see.
lot of people started like getting the cold following, and they were like started to have bands around that type of aesthetic. So they would just buy like the whole catalog. They'll be like, "Yeah, just send me like the whole thing."
I want it all.
Yes,
Yeah.
and once it got here, they would be like, "Oh, I want," like they would play all the records. They were like, "Oh, I want that one. No, I want this one." So I thought it was very interesting because he collects like Joe Cocker records, right? But but he also has like the biggest and fullest amount of experimental records from
Oh,
England, in the U.S., and here from Mexico that I've seen from here.
yeah.
Ever, and from all my years of living here. So he would just get the most random ass stuff, like the some of the stuff that I showed, like this one, which it's a experimental noise record from uh, Italy,
Yeah, cool.
Mauricio Bianchi, which this is an original pressing of it, and
Nice.
apparently goes for money and stuff. But it was just so random that this guy just and sometimes he puts in like because he thinks that he's selling me basically shit that nobody wants.
Right.
So he sends me like, "Oh, this is more well known," and he sends me like this Residence,
Oh,
record,
nice. Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
But so how he how he operates on his mind, that he's like, well, I have to send him some other stuff because I'm ripping he off like by selling this crap nobody wants.
There used to be a store here in Detroit that had they were all it was like their customers were classic rock fans.
Yeah.
And they would give away like even and this is like back like this is like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But and they would have krautrock stuff like the Can albums I have here that I have, they're the American pressings. They're not German.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they were like $5 because he thought it was just like stuff nobody wanted.
Yeah.
Kraftwerk, all that stuff. He would give that stuff away because all he wanted was like Led Zeppelin records.
Yeah.
So it was great. I picked up on a lot of great music.
Yeah, that's happened to me before here. Well, I guess like a lot of records that I have that I've been lucky to get have been like that. And even like, for example, I just sent a record to get mastered, and the first time that I got a record master with this guy, he sent it was for a Merzbow record, and he sent me an email saying, "I think your files are corrupt because it's like it's only noise on the record
Yeah,
on the
right.
track." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I don't know how to tell you, but that's the music.
That's the music, man. That's it.
Yeah, it's just because there's like a beat, but it's just like very, very, very like distortion. I'm like, yeah, man, that's the
Yeah,
record. And he's like,
I get
oh,
it. The guys that I like, most of the people I grew up with, most of the guys I grew up with when I have them over or something, and I'll try to turn them on to whatever. I'll try to turn them on to electronic music, or I'll try to turn them on to Fourth World or something like that. And they'll just kind of like look at me like what the fuck are you playing? Are you playing these?
yeah,
The guys I grew up with, they're into, Aerosmith and Judas
yeah,
Priest and that, and they'll just kind of look at me, and by now they've learned to accept it. So
yeah. I think that even if I didn't grow up in the U.S. or anything, but I think like people that like experimental music in the whole continent as a whole, we have a appreciation for it. In doesn't matter how much you like experimental music, you're still very like also rooted and grounded for like some sort of like punk or punk rock or stuff like that. Because sometimes I speak with people in Europe, and they're like, oh, we don't listen to anything but this, right?
Right.
But which whatever. But I I like when I go to record stores that I think I'm not gonna get anything. Hey man, you know I like that because I've gone into great record stores in the U.S. or like flea markets, stuff like that, and I'm just like, where I think there's not gonna be anything, it's where I want to go most, because
Yeah.
I know if I find one record, the price is gonna be like cheap, 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 and I'm gonna be able to get the stuff like instead of getting massively like you know.
Well, I've gotten good luck, and I walk into a store, and I'll say, "Where's do you have a classical section?" And they'll take me over, and they'll have a 3 dozen records in a bin. But I'll tell you, I've discovered this great Hungarian electronic album. They've just I don't know how that ended up in that store, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there it was, man. There it was.
yeah.
I think people get people this whole going back to what you were just saying though, this whole like I like a lot of different kind of music. I like experimental music. I like, noise. I like electronic music. I like, garage. I like, there's a lot of different kind of music. Some classic rock. I think we put ourselves into these little
box
categories, and then it becomes, and especially when you get older, like people like, oh, well, I like heavy metal, and that's what I like, and that's all that I like. Well, I don't see why it has to be that way. There's a lot of music that I like.
Well, specifically about heavy metal, and I've said it before here. That's one of the reasons that I stopped listening to like metal and whatever when I was a kid, was because immediately when an artist was like trying, because I got very bored. Like I was trying to learn songs, and they were all like the same.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, fuck that shit. Like every single band that I wanted sounded a little bit of the same. And as soon as they had like a synth, oh, sellouts.
Yeah, we don't like that.
Easy shit band. Like, as soon as like the lyrics were like calm, oh, it's like a ballad. Fuck them. Blah blah blah.
It sounds like they would say, oh, that sounds like new wave, man. That's new wave. They would say,
and they would hate it, and they're like the band will have to like disintegrate just to like keep existing. But so I hated that. That's something that I really hated. Oh shit. Well, my friend Mave Frati, it's playing in Detroit. I don't know when, but if you go to, I'll go into her Instagram, and
here I'll make a screenshot of it.
And I don't know.
I'll check it out.
There's this other band.
Paul always knows the band. He knows all the great bands that are coming to Detroit. He's turned me on to a lot of them.
Hey, wait. Hey, man, how you doing?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, how you doing, man? Wait, let me show. This is another band that's playing in the U.S. that I just released their record. Let me make myself big. How do I make myself big? I don't forget. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's called Diles que no me maten.
Yeah.
They're playing right now, like in a festival with Mave Frati and like Sun, and they're playing around with a lot of great bands. And the first track is with Mave Frati, huh? But this just came out. It's got sold out. But if anybody wants to go to their shows and get their the record, I sent them like they have like 100 records.
What's it sound like?
That's an interesting question. I guess it's poetry, spoken wordy in Spanish, but the music it's sort of between ambient, rocky ambient jazz, free jazz type music. The singer, lead singer from the band, his father it's a very well respected free jazz player from here, um, which he used to do like like Coom transmission type thing, like in the street, just like playing music for people in the street so they could hear jazz, maybe for the first time, maybe like disruptive type of scenarios where like set up a drums and start playing like free jazz in the middle of a busy street.
Right.
But they're an incredible band. They have a KEXP session that you could check out. Very, very beautiful music.
That sounds cool.
But anyways, what I was saying is that I think that something that really appealed to me about like experimental music was in psych. I guess it was the fact that there was no real like formula to it. It could just be a straight up poppy sounding record, for example, like Canterbury Prog's Kevin Ayers. That some records sound just straight up like British pop.
Yeah.
There's this like weird edge in the background just lingering there, or the lyrics are weird or something along those lines that I found refreshing, that I think most people that like that type of music and not necessarily play it, they still have this, thing that they can like experiment their own sound in their own way. But there are certain genres that I can listen to because they're like like just centimeter by centimeter have to like align. Yeah. And I think that's so fucking.
See, that's what I was always craving, that like the new, like to hear that sound that was like, oh, I never heard that before, or it made me even if it made me uncomfortable. When I first started listening to free jazz, I got to, at first it was a little uncomfortable, but I kind of enjoyed that, like that feeling of like being a little off kilter and being like a little challenged. Do I like this? And then kind of like learning to enjoy it. It's just Hermo, what's up, man?
Yeah, recovering from last weekend.
Yeah, that was a great stream.
Yeah, great to have you. And yeah, I'm sorry I'm running a little bit late. You were talking about MPB, which is currently the stuff I bought. Sorry, it's not original press.
Okay.
But I have to say, it's everything I bought so far.
I'm trying to squint my eyes, and I can just make you big. Wait.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mr. So
cool.
We'll focus or not. So
Mauro.
Yeah, Mr. Bongo. Yeah. So those pretty much everything I bought so far. Yeah, I have yet to be disappointed. This is like very melancholic.
That's a good cover.
Great label, and like as I said, very melancholic, very very quiet. You can see there is this something not good because of the political situation, and I happen to find that some other more classic that everyone knows.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, Os Mutantes.
Yeah, Os Mutantes.
When I first heard that, I had the feeling it was like Chris Montes is tripping on LSD while watching submarine movies.
Yeah, how do I change you here? Oh, there you go.
And such stuff. Fred recommended to me.
Yeah, that's a great classic.
Record. And other stuff.
That's Mr. Bongo reissue of that other.
It is. Yeah, it's all Mr. Bongo. It's not a Mr. Bongo reissue. This is something like similar label.
Get the Brothers.
Yeah. First side is like the Puerto Rico, New York guys in the 70s trying to do the Beatles stuff, but on side 2, it's really like, hey, we are from Puerto Rico. You can feel this cumbia influence.
Well, cumbia is from Colombia, but salsa.
Sorry, yeah. Thanks for correcting me.
No,
and this guy, and you were talking about krautrock. I
know that record. Yeah,
that's very close. That record. Yeah.
Very close to Germany, and they had this Schlager, and they have stolen pretty much everything from that record, this crazy brass section, funky,
Cuban record.
Cuban record, yeah, 71 something, 77, yeah, psychedelic funk. Well, so, this is currently the stuff. I'm pretty much.
I really like. Wait, how do I do this? The fuck is this? Oh, there we go. It's so fucking hot today here. I don't. I have an AC. I don't know why I didn't turn it on. I'm gonna turn it on. But I like Mr. Bungle. Do you have this one? If not, I would suggest it. It is Mr. Bongo.
Yeah, I've seen that.
What? How do I make myself it? So this is called En el ombligo de la luna, which is what Mexico means. It's the what do you call it? What's the ombligo in English? The belly of the moon.
Huh.
But this is a very beautiful record. Here you can see it says rare electronic Mexican experimental LP from '81
Yeah.
using traditional and electronic instruments. Luis Perez, who's still alive, and he released a soundtrack for a movie today, I think. But this is a very well done reissue. It comes with a textured cover. It's the gatefold like the original one. It comes with like the instructions because this was supposed to be. This was released by Iste, which is like the. I guess in Canada you could say like they do that a lot, but I don't think in the U.S. they ever did that. Sort of like the Ministry of Culture released music, and they released this record, which is weird because it's like they would only release like books, like for kids in school, but they released this record, and it comes with instructions, and they replicate the instructions that were supposed to like bring your family in, sit down, ask yourself these questions. What do you felt when you heard the music? Blah blah blah. Because it's like authentic music from Mexico with these sort of things. So
it's called a cultural enhancement. We're not allowed to have those things in the United States anymore. Those programs would be inefficient, and they would have to fire everyone and send them all home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I was trying to do a bad joke, because you showed an '81 progressive pop or rock album from a French band, and I was talking about the Los Jaivas.
Oh, do you know the one? You know the record that I showed?
No, I don't know, but Los Jaivas was pretty much progressive pop in the early '80s.
Los Jaivas is touring in the U.S. right now. Do you know that?
And this is the previous band. I think some people were into.
Congregación Bien.
Yeah, this is also a reissue. I haven't bought it yet, but like '71, yeah, prog, psych, crazy stuff, psych folk, yeah.
But yeah, I got this randomly.
Yeah,
it sounds a little dated, to be honest, but
when you say dated, is that a sound of the keyboard sound or something?
Yeah, it's sort of like the most like I think 80 to like 85, you had these advances in technology where like keyboards sounded dated by like 6 months afterwards. They sounded like extremely dated. So yeah, and the title is upside down, so I don't think you can't even fucking read it yourself.
No.
It's like backwards. It's something like, oh, this shit is backwards and shit. Like, I don't remember.
What is that? Dear. M-A-R.
Days are it's like a DAIS ALO. I don't know, man. It's French. I don't know. But
yeah. Do you have a mirror? Can you mirror the cam for a second?
Oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Oh, mirror my camera. There you go.
That didn't work. Yeah.
No.
It worked for you, but we see the stuff in it.
It's Days alors c'est à l'avers. Some shit like that. But you can see me.
No. We see the correct way. You see yourself.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's fucked up. No, I can't. Apparently, I can. But
Jose, you know this record?
No. What is that? Wait.
This is
Curryman.
Yeah.
Roye. All right.
Stunty played this one night.
All right.
This is much more like on the pop end of the spectrum.
Okay. It looks poppy.
Yeah, but it's good. But I mean, when you say pop, it's really really good.
No, I don't actually mind pop. I think most people assume immediately, but I think when you have a pop record that has that edge of sound, I think it's one of the best things you can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the pop side, it's supposed your brain to like it easily,
but then there's something challenging there.
Yeah, there's something challenging there.
Yep.
I think that's very beautiful. I normally, actually, when Romuald comes back, there's a French artist that released her first single. She's from, I think she's from Toronto or Montreal. I don't remember, but her name is Common Holly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pop.
Yeah.
But it's like it has this sort of like fucking, I don't know how to explain it, but it's sort of like Canterbury proppy background to it.
Yeah.
Like weird beats and like, but it's not samples. But I would recommend if this is her third record, and again she's from Canada, and the label putting her out for this new record, it's a label that I actually personally got to meet the owner a few times, called Keeled Scales from Austin, Texas, that puts out music from Buck Meek, the guy from Big Thief. It sort of guitar player for Bob Dylan as well.
Yeah.
But Common Holly. So that type of pop, I was always very interested by. There's a band from the Catskills in New York called Florist that I 100% being honest here, is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah,
there was this like subgenre of music that I enjoy quite a lot. I used to go to New York at least like once every like 2 years before the pandemic. I haven't been there for 5 years, which sounds crazy, but I used to go there at least once every year or 2 years, and there was a lot of bands from that era that they had this pop that was very specific, almost proggy, like I got to enjoy it. So Florist was one, Frankie Cosmos was another one that I liked a lot. But there's this label called Double Whammy anything that's on that label I still listen to a lot, and I enjoy their music. And then when I started my label, that's one of the first things that I was like, oh, because the way they did merch, the way they did like stuff was always very aligned with how the bands sounded. I don't know how to explain it, but for example, that band Florist, the lead singer, they're sponsored by Moog synthesizers.
Okay. Wow.
And she does like what I would consider pop ambient music.
Yeah.
It very pretty sounding, but it's not like YouTube fucking background music, It's very beautiful music made very specifically. I like this type of music that I listen to a lot. I think I have some. I have it in the other room, but again, I think there's edges of pop that I really enjoy.
Santi always refers to it. He says that it has to have that the music has to have a certain tension. Something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. And I agree with that definition. That most of the music that I really really love is, even the pop music that I really love, has some element in it that makes
Yeah.
me,
And
you know,
he also says about progressive stuff. It has to have some fragility. It has to be fragile in a way, not like too performing. Performance.
right,
So
right. That
it's probably
it's too, when it has too much form and too much, when it's too, that sounds bad to say it's too obvious, but in a way it's that, like, when it's too obvious, it's too easy.
yeah.
And, even if you might initially like go, oh, that's catchy, it doesn't hold your interest, over time.
It's like craft beer. You the first time you drink a double IPA, you'll say like, wow, lots of hoppiness, lots of flavor. But after the fourth time, hey, it's just too much. This IBU, it's just too much. So
Yeah, it has to be like
you sort of prefer more balanced stuff with less but better.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
this is the Emily Sprague. That's her name. I think I've never heard anybody in the VC talk about her, but
Yeah.
this is a double record because it's Water Memory is one record, and then Mountain Vision is the other one. But these were cassettes, originally cassettes. This is another record by her. It's called Hail, Flower, and Fog. You can get this for like $15, $20. But again, it's very pretty sounding ambient music that I think, I don't know, it's just beautiful to listen to. I still have on my old address, but I still have like my cassette because I lost it for a lot of years when I moved to this apartment. But this is the original cassette from that.
Oh, nice.
So
You have a lot of cassettes, Jose?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I I just got my neighbor gave me a where I live, the hills has a specific like a horse saddle type figure, and she gave me this cassette holder
Oh, nice.
with the shape of the thing, which I
Okay.
thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just put this thing for the so I can hold it, and I'm trying to. I had to ship all these records. I'm putting like I manufacture the cassettes and I put them there, and I'm trying to So I ship all these today,
Oh, nice.
and these are I guess tomorrow.
So you're doing that all yourself by hand? You're doing all that?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
I guess, hey, having a small business, right? A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's business going so far, Jose?
Good. I think every year has been better. I think after the pandemic was, I guess, the best year we had then.
Hmm.
But I would say this is the best year so far because the thing about the pandemic was that everybody was at home and everybody was buying records.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the VC experimented that anybody would be like, "Hey, get this record," and everybody was like, "Oh fuck, I need that," and they would just buy it.
Sure. That's why there were the shortages and everything that went on.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of people like investing in like more expensive records, trying to get like original pressings, and so that was a great year because I got a lot of stuff out and it would sell out quickly. I would say like 2022 and 2023 were a little more challenging because people were buying a little more cautious because they were like, "Oh, I have all this stuff to like." But last year and this one, well, first of all, I think I'm releasing stuff that make a little more sense that they have to be on vinyl or on cassette, never been done before, blah blah blah, and so I'm very happy about that. So the first two titles of this year, they're already both sold out. This is one. This is Steve
one.
Roden.
Yeah.
Forms of Paper, right?
That's really good. Really, really
Yes. And which you bought a copy, right? Did
good.
I?
Yep.
Yes. And you already got it?
No, I'm not yet.
Oh, all right. But I already sent you like tracking everything, right?
I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm
Oh,
in
no.
no rush. I'm good.
No, but let me let me know. But anyways, this is already sold out, and the fucked up thing is that if you read it, it says limited edition 300, but it's not true because I thought I got scared and I was like, you know what, I'm only gonna do 250, and then the pressing plant only pressed 234
Oh
records.
wow.
So yeah, but check it out. If I haven't sent you the tracking number, let me know because so this sold out, which is great. But I had to like ship everything, and I ship everything myself. So was something. And then the other record that I show you, this one, also sold out. This one sold out before the record got here with me, which again, it's a very beautiful, slow burning record. Diles que no me maten, which is the name is based on a short story by a Mexican writer that only wrote one novel that's called Pedro Paramo. And it's
So what do you do, well, Jose? What do you do then if they didn't print enough copies of the album, and what do you do?
Well, first of all, they refunded me like the records that were not pressed, right? But then, for example, I had to tell the state of the artist, hey, this record didn't got pressed, fully.
Yeah.
And most of the times they don't care because there's supposed to be like this thing in the industry where you get either less, like there's like a 10% margin. You can get less or more copies.
Yeah.
I've never gotten more copies, right? Fuck that. Cassettes I have. I sometimes like order like 500 and I get like 10 more, which is fine. Cassettes I've never gotten less. But records I think I've only gotten once like the actual number, which was for this one here.
And I guess the pressing plant is located like next door to you, right?
No. They're in Europe. They're in Czech Republic.
Oh wow!
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's way cheaper for me to get it made in Europe than here.
I visited a pressing plant actually after my stream. Yeah, it didn't sleep at all, and I visited that small pressing plant. They only have 2 machines so far, and
where in Canada?
Yeah, in Montreal.
In Montreal?
Not in Montreal. In maybe 50 miles east from Montreal, whatever. And they face the challenge because we don't have in Canada some plating, so we cannot do stamper. So there is this lab in Montreal. They do the cutting, and they have to send all the stuff to the US somewhere, and they produce a stamper, which they send it to the pressing plant over here. So yeah.
Well, here there is a pressing plant that does the whole thing in Mexico City.
Okay.
But it's so fucking expensive. It doesn't make any sense. So and I don't understand why. Because for example, I don't know what is like their deal, but I think they overbought raw material. So they're like trying to, get back that money somehow. But like pressing a record is almost $10 more per record.
Wow.
Here. And if with the shipping and the import fees and everything, than if I press them in Mexico City.
Wow.
And the quality is really good. For example, I'll show you one. This is a soundtrack for a documentary, and this was nominated for a Grammy for best packaging, if you can believe that. But very beautiful. This is a poster of the movie. It's about it's a documentary about Benno Lieberman, which was a field recording musicologist, music ethnocologist. What do you call that in English? Whatever. Like folkways type stuff.
Yeah.
And he would
a collector of songs like Lomax or Cecil Sharp in a way.
Yeah. Go to a small town and visit the people that live there
Okay.
and record their music and everything. But everything was extremely well documented. And there's an actual box set from back then, which is incredibly beautiful. And it's so you get the music, so you get this booklet,
Nice.
which is like the photos are really amazing, right from like the era. But every song has the lyric, the who wrote it, who plays what. Like in rural Mexico, like
That's nice if they gave them credit that way. That usually
yeah,
doesn't happen.
exactly.
That's
Because
nice.
I don't, Folkways didn't do that shit,
Yeah.
you know. So you get like here, like the violin, guitar, who plays it, tamborita, Tepehuala, and it says Tepehuala Guerrero, like the place that they in Guerrero, February 26, 1978.
Nice.
So very specific, like about what they did, and the documentary is very beautiful because they go back to the rural parts of Mexico, and they're like, "Hey, do you know these guys?" And they were like, "No, they're probably most of them dead or whatever." And one of them gets very emotional because he's like, it was his father, one of the recordings,
Yeah.
and he had never heard his father sing. He had
Wow.
died before, he was like conscious of life, and he had never heard him ever in his life.
That's nice. Yeah.
And he was like, they go on like a Volkswagen Beetle with a loudspeaker, and they blast the music, and the guy recognizes, like, I think that's my dad. And they like, he's, they tell a story, blah blah blah, and it's a very nice documentary. He was from
Interesting.
he was
Caesar in the chat is asking what's the name.
Al Son del Veno, Al Son de Veno.
Is the name of the right? Yeah.
Yeah, una película de Ian Lieberman. So his son did it. He was originally, he was born in Mexico, but he was Israeli, and very peculiar guy. He won like a festival thing that Rolex, the the watch company, gave out for people that were doing like field recordings. And I think he thought that he never did anything of value. He actually killed himself, like a few years after returning to Israel. But so that's the guy. But so again, I think this is amazing, and it sounds pretty fucking great. But this record is $75.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a commitment.
Yes. I feel shit when I have to sell record here for $35.
Yeah.
And then you get, shipping fees, which, they make a record bad. But imagine you're pressing your record inside your country. This is a fully Mexican thing, the artist, the documentary, blah, blah, blah. And it's still a $75 plus shipping record. So I can't get impressed here. I just can't. I wish I could, but for the foreseeable future, I can't. And there's this pressing plant now in Guadalajara that Sony and Warner press the records, but you can't press your records there.
Oh.
So if you, like, for example, I saw a Nick Drake reissue, and it says "Made in Mexico."
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. The Universal, the Island Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And it was made in this plant that you can't press the records if you're a label from Mexico. They only can press them. It's a German owned pressing plant, but you can't get records from Mexico pressed there.
No Mexican artists. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like fuck that shit. But
well, you got to make the right business decision. I mean, it comes down to that. It comes down to.
I guess, yeah. But it's like how much of an impact you would have if like people would have done that, it would have been great. But
Speaking of like
can't do it.
field recordings and stuff, I got this. This was a VCLT from
Oh,
Alex. Got me
oh,
this.
I know that it was CBS. What is that? ABC or something like that?
CBS,
CBS, right?
ABC, ABC.
AB. Oh, it was one of the two. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
really,
nice.
really pretty record. And this is all university sponsored, a group of folks to go over. They made like, it talks about it in here. They made like 75 hours worth of recordings,
Oh, wow.
which are all still available in their archives to listen to.
Oh,
And then
wow.
they condensed them down to this. But yeah, really, really beautiful.
If you there's one from Guatemala from that series that it's pretty great. It got reissued like a few months ago.
Yeah, it said that it was a whole series of
Wait, sorry.
That's
There
okay.
you go.
just that it was a series.
Yeah, Music of the Earth, which is a weird way of saying world music that I hate. But yeah,
Yeah, that's that's Western. That's Western.
Western talk.
Yeah.
These that I'm going to show you are very cheap to get, and if you're interested in that type of stuff, this is from Mexico only. But
Nice.
it's a series. This is number 10. If you see there, this is Sones y Gustos de la Tierra Caliente Guerrero, from the hot land of Guerrero. But it's very well made. Like
Nice.
all the lyrics, all the like small things are there.
What year is that from, Jose?
This one is from '82,
Okay.
but it's a whole series. And for example, let me show you it. I have this one, and they sound really good. Like they were like field recordings from that time. They were like reel to reel recorded most of the time.
Yeah.
So they have a good quality to them if they had good tape on them. And this is from Los Guaves or Los Mareños. And this one sounds really good, like phenomenally good. And again, they're very cheap. They're probably like $15 or something like that. This one is like still in shrink. I mean, it's open because I have the record out. But yeah, I mean,
You don't take them out of the shrink?
no, I love shrink. I love shrink.
I do too. I leave them in the shrink.
Yes, but I have the record outside.
Yeah.
But no, I like the logo, which is oh shit. I can't see shit.
Yeah. Cool label. Very nice.
But yeah, I enjoy the fact that that sort of thing. There's actually a folkways record from my country, from El Salvador, that I've never gotten my hands in. There's like a very cheap copy on Discogs, but like the shipping from like Spain is the same as the record itself, some shit like that.
$30-$40 for the shipping.
Yeah, like $30 for the shipping, and I'm like, So
I have a few times wanted a record so bad that I just went ahead and paid
Yeah.
for the shipping, and just
no, I've done it myself, but
you try not to.
I definitely try not to do it.
I found I didn't find this, came in the mail today.
Okay.
This is Carl Craig. This is Detroit techno.
Oh, all right. I don't know that
Okay.
one.
This is really, I mean, you hear Detroit techno, and I think sometimes people think that really, kind of hard. This is really, really melodic.
Like industrially type.
Well, that's what I think people think of, and this.
Yeah, that's what people think.
This is really pretty and very,
Yeah.
very melodic. Very kind of influenced, I think, like when you think of like German electronic music,
Okay.
kind of like that.
All right.
So this just came in the mail today. This is like a
Yeah.
$25 record.
I'll check it out. Carl Craig.
Yeah, Carl Craig.
Carl Craig. Just another day.
Day.
There's a Brian Eno record called that.
I've seen that.
And you know what? That record in particular, I sent an email to whatever the Brian Eno thing is, and they actually replied, and they were like, "Oh no, we're actually working on that reissue on vinyl for the first time. That was like 4 years ago, and it never came out.
Oh,
I
cool.
might try to ask them again.
You know what my favorite Eno record is?
Yeah.
It's actually never come out on vinyl. You know this record?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a one track. Thursday Afternoon. Yeah, yeah.
This is really. I love this track.
I thought that was going to be in that box set, the music for whatever.
Yeah. I keep looking to see if they ever. I mean,
Yeah.
in a way, I can understand. I mean, the whole aesthetic of it is
a one track.
Yeah.
Well,
really
that
cool.
actual record. My wife is a teacher, and her mindset when it was the pandemic, she was like depressed as hell. Like, I want to get out of here. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the records she used to put like constantly because it was just like a 1 hour track, just like ringing in the back. I like Brian Eno. I think that the problem that I have with Brian Eno sometimes is that, especially now, I just saw an interview he did. I don't know if you saw that from Apple Music, the podcast thing they do. There's a video essay, and he's talking about like this. So he has all this music that he made, right? All these compositions, and he has a software now where he can take like this one and like mash them up and to create this unique blend to make like a new song.
Okay.
So I'm like, fuck that shit. Like it just sounds so unappealing to me that it's like, why like an algorithm is making your music now? It's like, I don't know. It's very Brian Eno at this. You know that self-generated what do you call it? Generative paintings he does that they change.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what this was made for. This was made for electronic paintings. That what they did. There's actually a VHS cassette tape that goes along with this.
Okay. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You're supposed to put the tape in and then play this in the background. And it was an art exhibit, and that's where it all extended from. The cover of it is one of the, and so what this painting would do on the VHS tape is slowly shift and change.
Oh, all right.
What year?
Like music, not changing too much, just really changing.
What year did it was it released?
80, 85.
Okay.
I'm guessing. 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been released on vinyl or.
Did I froze? You guys froze.
Nope.
No. Oh,
Yeah,
I think
no,
my screen froze. My screen froze. I like Brian Eno. Again, I think the only thing is that he is sort of like the Bob Marley of ambient music. It's like people only know that guy. But it was called Music for Installations. That box set. I had it, and I think I sold it. But
my thing about Eno is that I think I talk to people and they'll think that it's like he's the beginning of ambient music. Like,
well, I've
wasn't ambient music before Brian Eno.
Yeah, and he got it from like all these Japanese artists that were like doing it a million times before.
Well, from all over. I mean, he took. I mean, I respect what he did, and I like a lot of Brian Eno music, but I actually, the stuff that I like most by Brian Eno is those first 4 or 5 records that he did after leaving Roxy Music, which aren't ambient at all.
Yeah, of course.
There is this song called "Third Uncle," which is really ahead of time. Yeah.
Bauhaus does a great version of that song.
Yeah, I've heard that. There's Spider and I. There's a Mexican movie called "Y tu mamá también." I don't know if you ever seen that. It's in the Criterion Channel. If you have it, I don't know, probably one of the most well-known Mexican movies. But it ends with what's the name of that song in that record? Like you and I underneath this ever falling down.
Underneath the setting sun.
No, it's a river or something. Oh, wait.
Or maybe that's it. Yeah, I know the song though. Great song.
Yeah, wait, what is it? freaking me out. What is it?
I actually put it on my Instagram on my Instagram page.
Why do I forget the name? By this river. Yeah, by this river.
By this river.
Moebius plays on that one. Rodelius and Moebius plays on that. Yeah.
Stunty played this a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Is
This
that
is
a
on-
reissue? Why is it so clean?
It was. I lucked out, and when I went on Discogs, there was a brand new copy for $15.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I opened it. I was the first person to open. But really good ambient, but with some like almost poppy elements, and kind of like what you might think of as like really forward-thinking pop music.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Really nice.
Is that a French band? Is that a French band? Profondeur.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah.
still, I mean, you can still grab this. I noticed that after Stunty played it, I was watching it on Discogs, and within like 3 days, like 12 copies sold.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But there's still 10 or so on there, and it's like $20.
Yeah, the only copy I can afford is the copy. He asked me, "Hey, can you fetch that locally and send it to me so I know before everyone
Yeah.
which will be played on Sunday's show?" It's amazing how the influence he has. We were talking about that earlier on, and he was telling me that last time 14 copies were sold within 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always tell them you should be getting a cut. I found this. I had a copy of this, but I found a nice fresh one. And
Marijuana Summit.
Marijuana.
do you know that, Jose?
Yeah, Terry Riley. Yeah. But is that the I've only streamed that. Is that the actual cover?
Yeah, it's a bootleg.
All right.
This never officially came out. The story on it is that I guess Don Cherry and his band and Terry got together before the session and smoked a bunch of pot. They smoked a bunch of dope and got so high that when they went into the session, they weren't happy with the results. They said, Terry Riley is quoted in some. There's the quote is in the liner notes, and he says something like, we were just too high. I think we were just too high to record. But I think it's really
Nice.
I think they're being really critical, but it's really good.
I got it for Record Store Day because they reissued it before, but today they I don't know if they announced it today, but I saw that the Don Cherry and Penderecki record's gonna get reissued again. You know that one that I'm talking about?
No.
The Penderecki, the
Composer, yeah.
Russian? Was he Russian? Yeah, Russian, right?
No, Polish.
Polish. Yeah.
Penderecki.
Yeah,
Would be the
Penderecki.
right-
Yes.
under the right pronunciation.
Yeah, but I'm saying it in Spanish. In Spanish, there's a
Krzysztof Penderecki.
in Spanish there's the fucked up rule that how you see it, that's how you say it. So for example, I don't say it, but for example here they like saying, instead of saying Chopin, they say Chopin, and that's an actual proper Spanish grammatical way of saying Chopin.
But Chopin is
Artaud,
yeah.
Artaud. We call him Artaud because Artaud is very popular here in Latin America because the most if you make like a huge list of people like tell you what the best record in Spanish ever, it's called Artaud, right? But we call it Artaud by Pescado Rabioso.
Yeah.
By Spinetta, Luis Alberto Spinetta. And so sometimes I say the names of stuff in Spanish.
Well, you would think that things should sound like they look, right? But
Yeah.
Speaking of Polish classical modern stuff, this is something I was about to ask Stanley if he's willing to have, but it's not too experimental. It's like very easy listening. It's between Prokofiev and might as well be a soundtrack of a Hitchcock movie. It's not a soundtrack at all, but this is only my perceptions, and it has all this. This is a 65 records, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
there is nothing like.
Well, Krzysztof Penderecki, most famous in the U.S. for the music for
Beth
The
Gibbons. The Beth
Yes.
Gibbons. No.
for
But
The Exorcist.
okay. Yeah, sure. So, some
Yeah.
guy in the French VC he was mentioning the Beth Gibbons. You know, the
Yeah,
Portishead
Beth
singer.
Gibbons. Yeah.
She had made a collaboration with him, and
Mm.
this is how I rediscover. Yeah.
No, yeah. No, it was because of The Exorcist.
Okay.
They used that music as like just to edit it, and they were gonna put music on top of it,
Yeah.
but they were like, ah, fuck it, let's just get the rights for this shit, slap it on, and then the fucking Tubular Bell shit, slap it in the. There you go.
And it worked perfectly.
Which is why I always found it funny, because if you watch The Exorcist 2, I don't think it's as shitty as people say it is, but
Is that the Heretic?
yeah, Heretic, yes. But the Ennio Morricone soundtrack, it's so fucking cheesy. I love Ennio Morricone, like you have no idea, but it's so like it has nothing to do with like a horror movie. It just, they was just like, hey Ennio, you want to do this shit? And they were like, yeah, all right. It has like love tracks on some like, very Ennio Morricone, like in Cinema Paradiso, or like Malena or algo así, but not, it's not for a horror movie.
The Exorcist is, I was just talking to some people the other day we were talking about movies that actually were, that you actually were a little disturbed by.
Yeah.
And I'd say The Exorcist is the one movie that if I watch it by myself, it still has a little bit of and it goes against my real beliefs, like what I actually believe. I don't happen to believe in any of that stuff, but it still freaks me out a little bit.
I was never raised a Catholic, but to me, I always found it very interesting, because I would see like these like horror movies. Most horror movies are very Catholic, like the saints and death and the devil and shit,
punishment and
But I personally, when I was growing up, I had a friend, and I remember actually. I don't know why in El Salvador there was no like censorship for what cable could show. Right. So when I was very young, I was like 8 or 9. I saw what's that French movie that I love? In English, Martyr.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Martyr. Yeah, very fucked up movie. One of the most fucked up movies you can watch. I saw when I was like a kid, and I remember I saw the last portion of it, when like not any spoilers here, but she's basically just like not even skin. She's just like a piece of shit, just like waiting to die, and the music is actually on vinyl, which is pretty good, as you should get it, but. There was
is that Morricone? Is that Morricone?
No. This is like a Polish guy as well, or something like that.
What's the name of the movie?
Martyr. Martyr. Martyr.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in Spanish. Does it sound more like French? Martyr.
Yeah.
The stuff they used to show on cable, like I remember when my parents first got cable, and I was probably about that same age, probably 7, 8 years old, and the stuff that I used to watch, by myself, because I was home. Yeah. I was an only child, so I was home by myself all the time, and I'd be watching these, slasher films that just were, back then it was all those 70s slasher films that were so over the top, and saw a lot of stuff.
But what I was going to tell you is that I was watching that with a friend. And he looked at me so dead in the eye, my eyes. I was so scared. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit? Why are they showing like mutilated people on the TV?" Yeah. And my friend just looked at me and he said, "They are actors. None of it is true. It's fake. It's their actors.
Good perspective.
But for real, I've never gotten like scared by anything in my life since then, because every time I'm watching a movie,
Yeah.
everything is ruined because I think in my back of my head these are just actors.
It's all fake.
None of this happened, even if it says based on a true story. Everything is fake. Fuck this shit. And then for some reason I enjoy it even more because I'm just like looking to see how well written a movie is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I, and so I can watch like very gory stuff, and I watch some fucked up shit in my lifetime, you know, like Faces of Death and shit like that.
Sure.
But because I think, well, it's just actors, you know, or these are real live events. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do, you know?
Yeah, see,
But,
most of that stuff, it's funny. Films usually don't bother me at all. And when I first got, I'm divorced, and so when I first got divorced and I moved out, and I moved in, well, a friend of mine said, "Why don't you just move in here? I have a big place. You know, you won't be alone. You know, you can hang out here. You can do whatever you want." So we used to spend a lot of time together, and you know, I was used to watching. I have a subscription to the Criterion channel, and I was used to watching documentaries, and really nothing about, you know, I can watch anything. And I would watch, you know, I'd be wanting to show him some controversial film, and these films would bother. I could see that they were just bothering him. And you know, people are different, you know. I mean, I
know.
I had to stop kind of like showing him things because I could see that it was really, this is a 50-year-old guy, you know, and he's like, you know, everybody's different.
Let me show you a record that this is getting reissued by someone in the US, but I think if you don't get it now, it's probably going to be more expensive later on. It's experimental guitar and ambient music from here. Evelyn Makari, his family was from the Lebanon
Okay.
Originally. So he has this very beautiful approach to classical guitar, but that's his own label.
Yeah.
Lacta. But so this is getting reissued soon, and there's a label in Canada that does a lot of reissues about experimental music in Mexico. I don't remember the name of the other label, but because they work together, but one's called Smiling C. Just smiling and a letter C.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the compilation's called Triángulos de Luz, which is like triangles of light. But it's from Canada, and it's very well done, and it's it's on Spotify and stuff like that. But I like that approach that they're doing all these reissues. My only thing with when I see like labels from outside doing reissues of music from Latin America is that I just hope they are not doing it because they feel that it's exotic music. That's the only thing that I don't want.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that about Mr. Bongo, but like Analog Africa, I get that a little bit. Like they're sort of like, look at these. I'm just exaggerating, right? But look at these monkeys dancing. Like the fuck.
Yeah. I hear. I felt that way about. I like a lot of like Turkish music and some Turkish psych and stuff. And there's a label.
Yeah,
what's the label? Faraway. Faraway Places or something like that. And I always get a bad feeling, and I have a few of them. I own a few of them. It's the only way. Trying to track down originals of those is impossible.
Yeah, Faraway Records.
That's it. Yeah, but I always kind of get a bad like vibe from them that they're like exactly like what you said. Like, ooh, this is so exotic, you know. And I guess it's the label descriptions. They describe the music as you know.
Mostly when they do like if you like Pink Floyd, you might like.
Yeah. You
know, which is I think.
And the music is so great, and like I say, it's really the only way to grab it.
Like Turkish music, I think this is an American label. They did some compilations of. This is a folk
with like very
psychedelic vocal part.
Very
No, but
good.
that looks more like a legit record. I'm talking about when they have like this like specific like type
Yeah.
of covers with like, which the music is going to be good, but the covers and the way they describe in the record sometimes give me a little cringe.
It's a
Like
little exploitive and yeah.
Analog Africa just released Cumbia Rebajada record from Mexico City. It's called De Tepito para el Mundo, which the music is great, but it just sounds like they did it just.
The French label, the equivalent of Folkways, Le Chant du Monde, just made some stuff like that back in the day, like in Polynesia, for instance, sponsored by the airlines. So it's really the sort of music that tourists, can enjoy when they were like sitting in a bar. So it's.
But they describe, the mix of psychedelic music with traditional, the descriptions are, they're made for Western, they're trying to cater to what they think Western audiences want.
I mean, sometimes the artists themselves used to release records like that. Like I'm going to show you one. This is an actual record that you can get very cheap. That it's called Brazil. But it's Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil, Maria Bethania, which is Caetano Veloso's sister, and then Yao Gilberto. But this is an actual record that actually came out in Brazil. That is good. It's good, I guess. But it's Philips, which was the main label for South America's major releases.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like again, I when I see that sort of like compilation, sometimes it's like I was talking with. There's a band from Mexico called La Revolución de Emiliano Zapata, which means the revolution of Emiliano Zapata, right? And there's a new reissue that you can buy right now in Amazon in the US. It's like fully analog and shit. And I was talking with the guitar player and singer for that band, and he was like, nobody has any idea like that shit was coming out in the US or anything, because they just buy the fucking rights,
right?
And they don't give a fuck, which I found weird because, for example, in my approach with bands is like I talk with them first, even if somebody else owns the rights. I want the band to know that I'm interesting. Maybe they have cool photos I could put in the inserts, a little story they can tell me.
It's just the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do.
But it's not the norm. It's like people actually don't give a flying fuck as long as they can slap a sticker that says "Psych Music from Mexico."
Yeah,
which no, for real. They love it. They and that's fine if that's what you like. Great, but again, because for example, if you live here in Latin America, and you talk about psych and garage and rock music in Argentina, there are three artists that people have like on the top of the list, which is Gustavo Cerati, which was in a band called Soda Stereo. Yeah. Charly Garcia, which was in 1,000 bands, is Sui Generis, La Máquina de Hacer Pájaros, blah blah blah. And then the third one is Luis Alberto Spinetta, which was in Almendra, Pescado Rabioso, Los Socios del Desierto, Spinetta Jade, a lot of bands. But when you talk with people in the outside, they don't know who these motherfuckers are, and they only know all these other very niche artists that because they got heavily reissued in the US, they think that's like the most popular stuff from over there, which is not a bad thing, but it's like a sort of like it's a deviation of major reality, which doesn't really matter, I guess.
It's
But
why Americans so often have a distorted view of almost the entire rest of the world. We have kind of this distorted view because we're hit with these images that are just inaccurate, and we're hit with them over and over and over and over again until
That's-
it creates the wrong impression.
it's just but so that's because, for example, I'll say, like, for example, if you come here to Mexico, you're gonna see a lot of French music like in the dollar bins because, like, what's this guy's name, like Charles Naur, or like stuff
Yeah.
like that was extremely popular here,
Yeah.
like dumbly. But I know for a fucking fact that that's not like what only thing that people in France listen to,
Right, right.
you know.
Some,
So
some does, but it's like Paulo
yes,
Conte. It's maybe
Mustaki,
more like
what's the other guy?
Mustaki. He
Yeah.
was a French, but has some Greek ancestry. But
Yeah.
Paulo Conte would be a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's much more known and popular in Germany outside of Italy. Much more an Italian ex ambassador,
Mhm.
for the outside of Italy.
Yeah. But
Do you know this Guy Warren album, this Drums of Africa album? Do you know that record?
no drums.
It kind of epitomizes I have a copy of it. It epitomizes this kind of distorted view of
That's a
here,
good.
let me grab it.
I love that band. I see Caesar is mentioning it. I love them.
Well,
Yeah, it's
Rock
my
Nacional.
Cubit Rock Nacional. Yeah, it's the guilty pleasure section. Virus, Mateo Zas, Los Fabulosos Cadillacs.
Fabulosos Cadillacs. You like ska,
Pronta,
huh? You like ska?
yeah. Pronta entrega, por favor. And all
Well,
those kind of-
muy bien, muy bien.
Yeah.
Papo, you know Papo?
No,
Papo Blues. That's like the Black Sabbath of bluesy Black Sabbath of Argentina, which was released at the same time.
I know Tarkus, but it's
Tarkus
Peru.
from Chile. No, Peru, peruano,
Yeah.
peruano.
And the Argentinian guy who formed the band.
Yeah, it's like a black cover.
It is. Yeah.
I know of a guy here in Monterrey that has an original copy of that one in Lagonia. It's called Etcetera. A beautiful record.
Yeah.
Unfortunately has a track with the N word.
I interviewed a guy on my channel last year. He's in Netherlands. He will be in Den Bosch. And back in the 90s, he was like traveling 5-6 times a year, to Peru, Argentina, and he had a chance to find an OG copy. And
Oh wow. Yeah,
Tarkus.
those are like more than $1,000 now, like $2,000-3,000 a copy. But you have to understand that, for example, like if you see a Fela Kuti record, and it's always like G plus, right? Well, records from my country as well are like G plus, VG at best when you find them, because we were at fucking war in the 80s. Like most of the records that were released in the 60s and 70s had to go through a fucking war in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. So it was not a priority to keep the records nice and clean in your shelves. It was sort of like you were not selling that because it was sort of like, who's going to give you money for that during that time? But it was sort of like just playing them, overplaying them, just trashing them, and you didn't give a fuck because maybe later on they would press it again. Who knew, like, the CD would take like the lift it did. So again, I think it's very important to reissue records, because most of the times, like some of the stuff that I show at the beginning of the stream, there's stuff that I like the originals. The vinyl records sound absolute like dog shit because it was like recycled vinyl at the time or something like that. But it's just very specific and niche music, which is great. But I think that doing a good preservation of it also means not hyping it to the fucking max when you release it, in the sense that,
Right.
like, oh, if you like, I don't know, whatever, you should Nirvana, you should listen to this band or something like that.
Well, there's a difference between reissuing for, to preserve something, and then exploiting something, and there's just a difference between that.
Because
You turned me on to Jose.
oh yeah, a la izquierda del colibrí,
I love
Jorge
it.
Reyes.
Beautiful record.
I actually got
you played that one on the first stream. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That's there's a reissue. That's the only one that I think has a reissue right now. So Jorge
There's
Reyes.
a reissue of it, but I've got my eyes on a certain copy on Discogs, an original. So,
do you have a take on Telegraph Avenue? That's
What?
Psych Prague, Psych stuff from Peru. Ah, shit.
No, don't worry. Sorry, I was not watching. I was not. Yeah, Sean, look at this. Wait, how can I go to the Telegraph Avenue? Yes.
Do you know about
yeah, I know. They have another record, right? That's the second one, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. Was it Telegraph 2?
Volumen 2, yeah. Volumen 2, yeah.
Telegraph. Yeah, I think I was helping Vinyl Piper. Get this, please. It's from Canada. That label, Seance Center, something like that. But this is called Triángulo de Luz y Espacio de Sombra, Triangles of Light and Spaces of Shadows, or something like that. But this has Jorge Reyes, the guy that you just showed me the cover.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm gonna say about this label, that I don't know the full backstory, but this has like 80% of the best, what I would consider the best artists that has ever existed in Mexico. 80% of them are in that compilation. And the thing that I don't understand is how they did it, because it seems like the labels only got one fucking copy per artist for them to just have one copy per artist. So I'm actually helping one of those guys. They ship it to my PO box after a year and a half, 2 years of it being released, a year and a half of it being released. But it has a track from that record, la de Colibrís. Nosotros éramos los colibríes de tus sueños. So, but I don't know, just stream it. It's on Spotify, you know.
Can you put in the private chat that name?
Where's the private chat? Oh, here we go.
Oh, cool. Perfect. Thank you. I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I don't know if didn't it post it on the thing? I don't know. But
It came through.
all right, yeah. But yeah, I think this is a must-have. I think it's one of my favorite compilation of last year, because again, it's in Spanish and in English, the whole thing, but it's such a rare thing that they got all these great artists together for a compilation of material that it's very hard to get, you know, like this Evelyn Macari one that I showed. I think the cheapest copy right now is like $200 on Discogs, but it has a track. That record has one of these tracks. So it's a record that if you had all the records, it would be like $3,000, just like, or more. I mean, maybe less, but you know what I mean. It's a good compilation. I don't know what the fuck's going on with the paying of the records of the artists there, but you know, I think there are compilations that do serve like a purpose.
Oh yeah, it's like $32 US.
Yeah, there's copies on Discogs as well. Again, this is a Canadian label, so the only shitty thing might be the shipping. But maybe check it out on Discogs. Maybe there's a cheaper option on Discogs.
Yeah, I will for sure.
even if
should
it's
be-
like $2 more.
or shoot me an email. We're trying to sort this out.
What? What? Sorry.
Yeah, I live in Canada, so maybe I can
Oh.
we can find a solution.
Yeah, that would be great.
I haven't been over there in ages. I need to get over there again.
Yeah, I have to go to Canada as well. I haven't, because when I used to go to the US, I used to go to Canada, but I haven't.
There's a great record store in Windsor, Dr. Disc.
Okay, never been there for record
And
shopping.
I like I say, I haven't been there probably.
For you, it's
3-4
like
years.
right across the border, right?
It's right. I can't remember the name of the street anymore. But yeah, I mean, when you come out of the, I usually take the tunnel through, and when you come out on the other end of the tunnel, it's 2-3 minutes from there.
What city is next to? What's the border city?
Windsor.
Oh, Windsor.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in Detroit.
What is it? Ontario. It's still Ontario, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Fucking massive Ontario.
It's like 4 hours drive to Toronto. Something.
Oh shit.
Not even sure about that.
Well, there's a good store in Mississauga. A friend used to live nearby. Sonic Boom Records.
Toronto, yeah.
Cops, pretty good.
Cops, rotate
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a lot of Swans records from them last time I was there.
Yeah, Invisible City. Yeah. Toronto is a great city. I've been there about 4 weeks ago, something.
Yeah,
Nice.
I have to cross. I've never been to Vancouver Island, so
Yeah.
and I've never been to like the left side of the U.S. like Portland, Seattle, California, Nevada. I don't know why would I want to go.
When you say the left side of the U.S., be careful of what you're saying.
Well, it's pretty left.
Well,
But you know what I
sadly,
mean.
we don't have a left side anymore.
Yeah, I guess.
Another story.
But yeah, I've only been to the East Coast, right? And I've been to fucking Delaware, but I've never been to Seattle, which is weird.
You never been to California?
No,
No?
never. I don't like. To me, California. Like my wife is going to California like in 2 weeks. I've never been to California. I don't know how the streets look. I have a very, I'm 30, so like for me, it's like this land that it's just like exists.
This romantic view of California.
Yes, I'm probably sure that if I go there, I was probably gonna get like scared because I have a friend that went to San Francisco not that long ago, and he was telling me like, because I walk a lot. This is not a city to walk in, but he's from Mexico City, so he walks a lot, and he was telling me like walking in San Francisco is like a little scary sometimes.
A good friend of mine told he's from Canada. His wife from Poland, and they say walking down the streets like San Francisco is pretty scary, but doing the Yosemite Park, it's
supposed to be beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
No, yeah, and my wife grew up in Bakersfield.
Oh.
And then she used to go to all the national parks and stuff like that, which is nice. But again, like I don't know, since I've never been. I know these names, right? Like Echo Park, like I know what it's supposed to be, but I don't. I know the story of the horrible story of like the Dodger Stadium, right? I don't remember the name of there used to be like a community and they took it down. It's like where like Latinos and Black people used to live, and they told him to get the fuck out of there, and they build they gentrify the fuck out of that place. But anyway,
that's happening right now in Detroit. Right now.
Really?
Yeah, they're building they want to build a new bridge, and there's an area of Detroit, Mexico. They call it Mexican Town,
Mm-hmm.
and
all right.
That's the area that little by little, what they're starting to do is people are coming in and buying those homes up, and then there's going to be a whole big project put in there, and who lives there? A lot of poor people of Mexican descent. And they're buying those homes up for a song for
Chavez Ravine. Yeah. Sorry.
What's that?
No, somebody said the name of the place in the Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just it's a shame what's happening. It's the same old story of buying these homes up, and where are you gonna buy a home for $30,000?
No, I think my problem sometimes with the U.S. is that I love the place, but it still weirds me out how segregated the U.S. is, because it's like you go to Austin or you go to Texas in general, and they're like, black people live there, and the like Mexicans live like over there behind that HEB, and then like whoever lives over there, and they just white people just live like around, which is you go to New York and it's the same. It's like sort of like
Yeah.
Spanish Harlem was like, oh, that's where like Latinos and black people live, and then Queens, blah blah blah, and then like all these other parts like Rhode Island, oh, it's so like mixture of like Italian and just straight up white people.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that, because I grew up with like people from all over the world, which is rich and poor. We were just like, hanging around. It was never an issue. The first time that I ever remember thinking about like difference in wealth in my country with friends of mine was when we went to university. And some people were like, well, I'm not going to the university. And it hit me like, oh well, yeah, everybody has different realities.
Yeah.
But not even on housing. It was like we all, because El Salvador is a little weird, since after the war there was a lot of like people that just like got land or some shit like that, and so you have like a lot of like middle class, and then like a rich house here and a rich house over there, and then like a poor sector, but it's like it's all mixed. It's not like spread out. It's just a mixture of stuff. So when I go to the US, I feel weird. But when I went to Canada as well, I went to the beach in the I don't remember what they call it, the Great Lake in the Chicago. What do you call it?
The beach.
Yeah, the lake, Chicago.
Superior. No, Michigan. Lake
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah. The lake, and the other side is Chicago.
The lake.
The lake. So I was there, and there were all these people like Indian people over there, and then they were like my friends were like here, and there were like people from like other parts, just like in small groups.
Yeah.
And my question was like, why? Like, because to me, it doesn't matter where people are 5 generations before them. If you live over there and you were born there, or you're second generation or first generation, but your culture is from there, you should feel from there. And because it's like all the dumbass Latinos that voted for Trump. It's like, don't call yourself Latino. You're like 6th generation there. You've never lived in this land. You have no idea what it's like to live a normal day in the life of, anybody from here. You're American. Just if you just feel American. If people want to pinpoint that you're not American, blah, 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 that's your fault, because you should tell them to go fuck themselves, because you are from over there. Nobody's from over there. Nobody. There's indigenous people that were from there, and then they took 100% of their land, 99.9% of their land, and
yeah, but it's
it
doesn't work. Doesn't work.
I know it doesn't work like that, but that's what weirds me out, because it sort of does work like that here.
Where I grew up in a city of Warren, which is it's a suburban Detroit, and that's right where 8 Mile Road, kind of the famous, from Eminem, 8 Mile Road, cuts right through. That's the dividing line between Detroit and the suburban cities.
Okay.
And growing up in that area, the segregation was so intense and so how can I put it? So authorized. So the community leaders were adamant about this invisible barrier.
Yeah.
It's just, they say that part of Detroit and the suburbs, at one time, it was the most segregated part of the entire country. The most segregated part of the entire country, as far as like, black and white, or however you want to put it. But yeah, I think it's so ingrained. It's just a very
I know.
ugly aspect of things. But
By the way, I have to leave in 8 minutes, but don't worry. But I appreciate you both for being here.
thanks for having
Sure.
us.
I
Thank you.
I like the diversity in music. I like diversity in films. I get that some people don't understand that, but it just feels weird sometimes being from over here, and then when you see this perception of the place that you were born, even in the US. I think if you are from, let's say, San Francisco, and you see all these movies about like the hippies and all
Yeah.
these hippie shit, and if you were from there, and you probably like, well, that was a section over there, and it was not the whole thing, right? Or if you see a movie about New York in the '60s, like the Greenwich Village, only like hippie, blah blah blah. But no, it was people riding 1950s cars, because everybody had those cars still, and it was probably, it's like in the '80s people had '70s cars, just like now people have cars from the 2000s, like
Yeah.
so it just, I feel that sometimes it feels weird when people talk about certain things that you've known all your life, but they categorize it in a very
Yeah, people have the wrong image. Here is the French-speaking part of Canada, and people. So here in Canada, they love the French culture and they know the French movies, but I have to explain it's not the reality. Sorry, it's not the romantic Paris that you see in the movies. It's not like that. When you actually travel to France,
yeah.
no.
What I find weird is when people want to deny that it's true.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've had that happen.
But the most problem is when you don't have like connection with the people. My great grandfather came from Poland, for instance, from the second generation, where they were French, and they were mixed with the French people, with the Italian people.
Yeah.
And something like a fact. My father, military service was still compulsory by the time. So this was a great opportunity, to be mixed with people from old culture, old social, middle class. And by the time when I was 20 years old, it was like no more compulsory. And at the time, you had like hood neighborhood, where some people from North Africa were like kept apart, and this is not good. Yeah.
Now, in defense, I would say that I still have friends who live in the neighborhood where my parents had their house and everything, and there has been things have changed. I mean, it's not like it was in the '80s or whatever. So I mean, there's positive things to say too, but things don't happen fast enough.
Yeah, I just think that sometimes people immediately think that movies are like a legit way of knowing culture, which is weird, and also that I with music itself, because for example, something that I like about, for example, Argentinian music was that if there was a prog scene or a rock scene, it was happening at the same time that all the major musicians were happening in the UK and the US, so they were not really being influenced as much as riding the wave, which is a different type of perception.
Like krautrock. Krautrock wanted to be to make their path beyond the stupid Schlager, like weird variety from German and Anglo-Saxon music. And
it was
very consciously, intentionally doing that.
And culturally, krautrock and even like because krautrock is such a, you get bands like Kraftwerk doing something completely different, and Amon Düül,
Guru, Faust.
yeah,
Guru,
Faust,
Amadou,
exactly, yeah, because Faust is,
Krautrock.
yeah,
Really,
but
yeah.
nice, but you know what I mean. It's like it was necessary because Germany needed that extra new
Oh, yeah.
wave of cultural push of like hearing their fucking grandparents and parents talking about the war all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It was necessary, just as
Absolutely.
much as protest
They,
music was.
they had this trend called Bauhaus in the 1920s, and then it
Mhm.
stopped because the Nazis didn't want to.
Yeah, of course.
But in the 70s, they just moved back, when, by the way, Kraftwerk, like, the people are just dressed, with the tie.
Mhm.
So they just took what was nice, about this Bauhaus culture.
Yeah, like center, like draw the line again of
Yeah.
like, hey, we
Yeah.
were doing this, and
Because Schlager was a way my grandparents used to like this Schlager, this silly music, but
Yeah.
was a way to. My grandmother, she was born in 1928. She was from Polish parents in France, so
Mhm.
she told me stuff about the war, pretty creepy. So
Mhm.
they needed, this Schlager, joyful
No, of course,
music to forget about that. So I don't blame them for that.
No, I actually, that's something I always talk with people here from Mexico, because back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, almost all Central and South America was at war or had a civil war or something going on that was very shitty. And Mexico did not. And Mexico during this time had the most prolific amount of ballads and beautiful poppy music and on all this thing, because it was sort of like that. It was sort of like a facade, like a
Yeah.
gilded age of like nothing's wrong, ha ha ha, like
Yeah.
forget about the bad things, like look at this. And I think that krautrock was a little bit of yes, like let's look over that, but it was also a very realistic way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
It was just like, let's progress
Because the first time,
over that.
because in the 50s you were like a kid and then you were adult, and from 61, 62 you were a teenager,
Yeah.
and you said, okay, we refused the life that our parents had,
Yeah.
and the goal our presidents, we were happy, okay, what he did for the country, but at the time we say, hey dad, you're wrong, what you say
Yeah.
is not true, we want our own stuff.
Yeah.
And 68, this student riot, and pretty interesting what happened from 68 up until now. Yeah.
I think one
Yeah.
of the things that appealed to me more when I was first learning about krautrock and all of that, and then and kind of learning the intentions of kind of its original practitioners, and that it was this very intentional kind of leap forward. Oh, there you go. Cool.
Somebody gave me this.
Hey, there you go. All right, MC5.
Wait, is that MC5 CD? Does it have the brothers and sisters? Does it has the?
It's a CD. Yeah.
No, but does it have the brothers and sisters? Sorry, Sean, that I cut you off.
No.
Is it brothers and sisters, or it has the motherfuckers?
I bet it has the motherfuckers.
You don't know?
No, not sure what you're talking about. I bought this CD 10 years ago, and I thought I had forgotten. Yeah,
Nice.
we were talking about that in my stream last weekend. MC5 is 2Gs, or maybe privately, I don't even remember. And I thought, because I kept only a portion of my CDs when I moved to Canada, I thought I had sold this CD, but I found. So yeah,
Cool.
Well, I have to leave. I know we're in the middle of something.
Thank you for having me on.
No, thanks you guys for
Nice to see you guys.
being here. It was just random because the other stream got pulled. So
That was fun. Thank you.
and I normally don't have time anymore. When I might try to spin records again and shit someday.
Do it.
All right.
Take
Well,
care.
thanks you too, and everybody who's watching. Hit the like, and I'll fuck it that shit. All right. All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.